Running this YouTube channel and higherplayinggames.com is a labour of love, and I spend many hours a day and week doing this, but it also means that I am privileged to be given advanced access to games that are in the rough and ready stage, getting ready for release, and that's what's happened today with this advanced preview of RunOut, Run and Fun Together. The best way I can describe RunOut, Run and Fun Together is if you took elements of Party Animals, Fall Guys, and then shoved it into a 2.5D platformer where the camera is constantly moving and you've got to stay in frame, surviving the platforming that's going on. As you do that, you need to collect coins, and you can do that by just collecting them as you go, but also beating up and killing your opponents and stealing their coins too. If you survive to the end of the level, then you'll be able to run through the rainbow door and collect more coins and win. And whoever wins the most coins over 3 rounds wins the game, essentially. You can do this in a free-for-all environment where you're randomly matched into players between 3 and 6 wide in a lobby, or you can go 2v2 or 3v3 in a teams mode. I did struggle with trying to get that Teams mode to work though, because the lobby of you grouping your friends together on a screen only stretches to 3. Now there was 4 of us playing the game, so the fourth one was always left to chance, and we had to try and hope that they would end up in the right room, and that felt a little bit clunky. But if I'm honest, that's probably the least of the problems that we came across whilst playing this advanced preview. And whilst you do need to take what I'm going to say with a pinch of salt because it is an advanced preview and things will get polished out over time, there's some real fundamental problems with this game that I don't think can be resolved unless it goes right the way back to basics and considers how the game is built. With RunOut, Run and Fun Together, the levels, as I've said, are 2.5D. But there's a distinct lack of perspective as you move through these levels. And that means that the platforms are really narrow, so the tiniest little bit of back and forth will mean that you'll fall off them, and that's very frustrating. But quite often you'll have staircases that will go up, but they overlap with the roof, and so you kind of get stuck in the middle with a character. Or you'll get stuck in staircases that don't turn around properly, so you get stuck in the actual scenery. Ladders don't seem to work properly and they don't seem to be properly attached, so you kind of end up getting, again, stuck in the scenery. And this happens repeatedly, time and time again. Sometimes jumping in this game is like a roulette wheel because you'll then get stuck in the scenery. And it all seems to go back to this 2.5D level layout, where bits of furniture in the world around you don't seem to be well planned and certainly not well laned. If you think of games like Little Big Planet, where you was able to switch between like middle, outer and closest to you like lanes, this doesn't seem to have that. It just seems to be like a really narrow thread with some stairs and jut outs either side for you to hope that you can actually platform your way around. And because this game is a little bit laggy, but the controls are really woolly, that makes all of these problems so much more worse and really frustrating to play. On top of that, you also have various different power-ups that are taking place in this game too. So some of them involve this kind of ever-constant panning camera. So as there's 3 different types of levels, one's where you ascend, one's where you move from left to right, and one where you're going like through the camera lens, a bit like a Crash Bandicoot level. All of them have a camera that's constantly going, because if you fall out of the camera's view, that loses you a life. However, some of the power-ups allow you to pause the camera or to reverse the camera or to speed it up. They work fine and you get used to those quite quickly. It's every other power-up that's a mess. And so if you're trying to fire guns or bombs or anything like that, again, that whole 2.5D level perspective causes problems, because sometimes you shoot things and it's not even registering that it's landing on the land, or it's blasting past a player and you're kind of going, well, what has happened there? But then the actual animals themselves all come with their own unique skill. And some of them are really overpowered, especially the panda. The panda has this like fire blast move, and it goes out across like almost the whole screen, and it repeatedly takes out almost all of the characters on the screen if you're on the same level. Whereas other characters might have like a dash charge that does similar type of attack, but there's a delay to it and a real visual cue that it's going to happen, so everyone can prepare and get out of the way. Then there are other characters where it's literally like the crocodile gobbles you up or gobbles up another player, and then you have to run and then like spit them out. But the problem is, the whole idea around that is that you spit out the player into a really awkward area, but you've had to run to it yourself. So you've just put yourself in jeopardy, which is pointless to do. And some of the other ones are things like you get to do a double jump once, or you get to have a rocket on the back of, or like a jetpack for like 3 seconds. And you can't do much with that when so much of this game is about like trying to kill each other so that you can survive. And a lot of the platforming special moves are again really hampered because of this lack of perspective with the 2.5D platforms that are too narrow for you to be able to platform properly on. This all culminates into a really frustrating and confusing mess. Of the 4 players that were playing this game, 2 said this game had potential, and I can see it. It does have some potential, but all of us agreed that there are so many better games out there that do all of this type of thing so much better. And this doesn't feel like it knows what it wants to be. There is something fun in here somewhere, and there were moments where we were laughing at each other, but it was mainly because it was all going so terribly that we were kind of in camaraderie laughing with each other. It's a real problem to play. It's exceptionally glitchy. The amount of times, particularly in team mode, people's characters didn't load into the screens properly and got stuck trying to like respawn, that was a problem. The amount of times we just got stuck in scenery was a problem in this game too, just across the board. And then quite often when you're shifting between different menus, the game just zones out and goes into like a weird 4x3 like cinematic screen and can't shift out of it. So then you have to go out and reboot and start again. And that happened constantly for all 4 of us. The other thing I'd say as well is that the UI in this game is really odd. It's quite difficult for you to kind of understand how to buy things in the online shop because it's a mixture of part controller and part mouse controls, and it doesn't feel very intuitive. Selecting characters, you've only got a few seconds in which to do so, but the game's still trying to load the menu and it's lagging behind, so you have to kind of like panic pick. It just doesn't feel ready for any real launch anytime soon. So hopefully the developers will take a lot of this feedback on board. I don't think this game is a lost cause. I just don't think it's going to reach the kind of scales and heights of fun that maybe it might be hoping that it will, unless they start fixing 2.5D platformer perspectives and look at how those levels are structured, because it's intensely frustrating to play and I can't really recommend it in its current state if there's not some real remedial action done to it before its launch. So that's RunOut, Run and Fun Together. If this still does pique your interest, go and wishlist it. It's available on Steam. There is not a defined release date for this yet, but there are other creators that have got exclusive preview access too, and I'm sure they'll be streaming it away and hopefully having a little bit more of a better time of it than I did. Take care. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane-network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.